That may be the greatest catch I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, guys, y'all know at the very beginning of the offseason, I said what you need to be doing is you need to be selling those non-core assets that you have. You need to be getting some rookie draft picks. You need to make sure that you're getting future rookie picks to make sure that your roster stays flexible, because you don't want to be the guy holding the bag on James Robinson. You don't want to be the guy losing some value in T. Higgins. You don't want to be holding Jimmy Garoppolo at the beginning of the offseason. You want to make sure that you're loading up on those 2022 and 2021 rookie picks. That way, once we get past free agency, once we get past the NFL draft, we can then go in and identify what players we should try to be trading for, even if you have to pay a 5% premium just because we know now they project to have starting roles. I think if you do that over and over and over again, you're avoiding risk, and y'all know that's not something that I really care about doing, but you're doing it at such a cheap price that it actually makes sense. And also, you're still going to be buying these players before the season, so you are going to be getting that production discount. But before we get into this video, I actually have a very exciting announcement that we have an official sponsor for this video from Sideline Sprint. Now, here with Sideline Sprint, they reached out to us. I checked them out, and honestly, I was blown away with how nice this format was. And essentially, it's like a daily newspaper that you can read, and it's very quick. I mean, essentially, you are just taking the highlights of what's happening across all sports leagues. It's completely free. They go from anywhere from European soccer to the NFL. I mean, they cover everything and just hit the highlights. I'll throw it up on the screen here so y'all can get a good feel for it. It's informal, it's entertaining, and it's really just the news that you should care about. Nothing that's too in-depth. It's not going to be fantasy sports. It's not going to be anything like that. Just something for y'all to casually read when you wake up. Go, hey, ESPN is garbage now. Let's check out what's going on over here. But I'll leave a link to that down in the description below if y'all want to check that out. Let's get into this video, and let's talk about the first veteran that you can be buying for that 2021 production in Stefon Diggs. Now, here with Stefon Diggs, I mean, if you go through and you look at his redraft ADP, this may be the current best veteran buy that you can have if you're a contending roster, where I know a lot of people, they value Stefon Diggs highly, and you are going to have to pay up for Diggs based on what he just did in 2020, what he projects to see in 2021. But I think that Stefon Diggs was actually quietly a massive winner of this offseason. So, of course, they lose John Brown, and I understand that they bring in Emmanuel Sanders, but Emmanuel Sanders, are y'all kidding me? I'm so tired about hearing about Emmanuel Sanders. He hasn't been a good wide receiver in 3 seasons. Why are we still talking about him? Nonetheless, the guy that now projects to be the wide receiver 2 alongside Stefon Diggs is going to be Gabriel Davis, someone that is more so an undersized field stretcher, someone that you don't expect seeing a ton of targets in this offense. So now Stefon Diggs, just the unquestioned alpha here. Nobody's going to debate the fact that he is going to be most likely a top 6 wide receiver once it's all said and done with redraft ADP. Right now, if you look at some best ball drafts that are getting kicked off where there's actual real money on the line, Stefon Diggs is going at the very top of the 2nd round and sometimes sneaking into the late 1st. So if you're talking about his dynasty value, on the other hand, we know that Stefon Diggs is a wide receiver that is actually quite affordable. I mean, something that I would like to do is I would like to go through and package a wide receiver that is not that much younger, but a lot of people just assume he's younger because he has not been in the NFL that long. A guy like Terry McLaurin. I mean, if you could go through and you could get Terry McLaurin plus another piece and trade that for Stefon Diggs, that is a fantastic move. I mean, we've been stacking those 2022 rookie draft picks. I mean, if you take that 2022 2nd rounder, throw it with Terry McLaurin, someone looks at it and goes, hey, I guess maybe we can expect the same type of wide receiver production here, and we're getting the extra pick on top. I know this is not going to happen in every league. Mainly, you're going to be attacking those casual players that don't understand the actual projected production here for Stefon Diggs in 2021. Because Diggs can easily be a top 3 wide receiver like he was last year. I mean, it's shaping up to where this could be a perfect season with the amount of targets that he should expect, and we know that his career level of efficiency makes Stefon Diggs one of the best wide receivers in the entire NFL. And a little secret with Stefon Diggs is I know it seems like he is 28, 29, 30 years old, but no, he's only 27. You're buying Stefon Diggs now for elite production over the next, just call it 3 years, and you don't have to worry about the value actually dropping off that much. So yeah, Stefon Diggs going to be our first veteran target. You're going to have to pay up for him. You're going to have to give him probably a decent amount, but it's going to be worth it if you're a contending team. Now let's go on the exact opposite side of this, and this is something I want to do. I don't want to just talk about all my buys for contending teams. I want to go through and look at the traditional players that people would think to buy and try to identify what we actually think is valuable in these guys versus the guys we should be trying to fade. And our next player is going to be Adam Thielen. Now, Adam Thielen is someone that, I mean, his dynasty value has kind of cratered this offseason. He's 30 years old, and he actually had a decent year last year. But instead of looking at past production, what I think is going to be a lot more useful for those teams that are looking to contend in 2021, for those teams that are looking at getting that production into their starting lineup right away, I mean, I would rather be focusing in on redraft ADP, focusing in on where people who are actually drafting for those points in 2021 and not caring about the long-term outlook, where are they ranking these wide receivers with money on the line? And here here Adam Thielen is actually a late 4th, early 5th round pick, which is surprising. I thought that he would be a little bit higher than this. I thought that he would be sneaking into the early 4th round, but that is simply never happening in these drafts. So you have to look at this. You have to look at the fact that we don't necessarily know if Kirk Cousins is there in the long term. And I know that Kirk Cousins isn't some great quarterback, but if you're talking about someone being above replacement level, Kirk Cousins is definitely that. I mean, Cousins would be a much better quarterback for Adam Thielen than Kellen Mond really ever would. And if you have the move from Kirk Cousins in 2022, then you're going to be looking at Adam Thielen as a wide receiver that only has really 1 year left of guaranteed money on that contract. And at the same time, his value is literally going to just completely tank to the point where, I mean, he's getting valued similar to, I don't want to say an AJ Green or a Larry Fitzgerald, but I would think a good comparison would be where Larry Fitzgerald was valued 2 seasons ago. And that's not too far from where Adam Thielen currently is. So if you're going to be pursuing Adam Thielen, you really shouldn't be expecting the same type of production you saw last year based on the touchdown rate most likely coming down, based on what redraft players are currently telling us with his 2021 projection. And if you're buying him, it's very different than a Stefon Diggs. You're not going to be buying an insulated asset over the next 3 years because the situation can drastically change. So just because you're a contending team and just because you think it's the time to go through and try to buy some of these veterans at a discount, that doesn't mean you should be just going at the obvious old guys. Like a guy like Adam Thielen is actually someone that I wouldn't even bother sending offers for. Okay, so now let's get a running back up. And this running back, the hardest player to evaluate in Dynasty, to be completely honest. Let's talk about Ezekiel Elliott here. And Zeke has also saw his Dynasty value really plummet this offseason. I mean, you see him consistently going in the 3rd round of Dynasty startup drafts at this point. And if you would have saw that last year, you would have just been going, oh my God, do I need to check Twitter? What happened with Ezekiel Elliott? What did he do off the field? The drop actually occurs based on what he did on the field last year. And essentially with Ezekiel Elliott, you see the worst efficiency year that he has had throughout his entire NFL career. And I understand there are a lot of reasons beyond this. I mean, because you actually have Dak Prescott missing the majority of the 2020 season. And we know that Ezekiel Elliott has never played really any time in his entire NFL career without Dak Prescott. So you would naturally assume that it makes sense that you would expect that drop in efficiency. But beyond that, when Tony Pollard actually was in the game, Tony Pollard had very high levels of efficiency. And the most important thing with Ezekiel Elliott is the fact that, I mean, the amount of career touches he has had is absolutely ridiculous based on the fact that this is a player that you've pretty much never expected to get injured. This is a player that has had a bell cow type workload since his rookie season. I mean, he actually has more career touches in the NFL than any other active running back on a contract outside of Mark Ingram. And it's not like you're expecting much from Mark Ingram right now. And because of that fact, I think that there's actually a decent concern for Ezekiel Elliott to possibly be taking a step back, to possibly be seeing a drop in efficiency that you can expect. But redraft players are still valuing him extremely highly because we understand that he is one of the very few running backs that projects to be a bell cow. He is getting drafted in the mid to late 1st of current redraft leagues. He has an ADP of 8 overall. I mean, he is only 25 years old. He'll be 26 this season, and his contract is guaranteed through 2023. So despite the red flags of the drop in efficiency, despite his career workload, if you look at the combination of the 2021 projection with how high redraft players are on him and the fact that he has that guaranteed contract through 2023 and it would be almost impossible for the Dallas Cowboys to move on from him, I mean, Ezekiel Elliott is a player that it's hard to just sit there and go, you know what, this is someone we should be 100% pursuing, or this is someone that we should be 100% avoiding. I really need your opinion on Ezekiel Elliott because I just am not confident with any conclusion that I can come to on my own. Okay, so now let's go to a confident projection that we can have, and that is Keenan Allen. And that Keenan Allen, I mean, he just meets value on ADP every single year. I mean, it's been a very long time since Keenan Allen was a quote-unquote bust in fantasy. It's actually been since he lacerated his spleen so long ago. And now he is going in the middle of the third round, a commonplace for Keenan Allen at the ADP of 30 overall. And what's funny here with Allen is I don't understand this ADP in redraft because this is where you see him go pretty much every single offseason. And now we know he is playing with by far and away the best quarterback of his entire career. And also, this is not a team that goes out and significantly invest into the other skill positional pieces around him to take away targets. Because we know, yes, they do bring in a player like Josh Palmer, someone that if you look at his analytical profile, it is disgusting, someone that I'm not expecting much from at all in 2021. And what's more important, in my opinion, is the fact that they move on from Hunter Henry. Hunter Henry was someone that I actually think would command more targets in this offense compared to a player like Josh Palmer. Palmer, I would be very surprised if he makes any kind of impact his rookie season. So with this, with Keenan Allen, I mean, the offense gets an upgrade with Rashawn Slater coming in, hopefully bolstering that offensive line. I mean, he does have the best quarterback play of his entire NFL career, and he is guaranteed his contract through 2023. So very similar to Stefon Diggs, I actually really like the buy of Keenan Allen for those contending teams. Here, you could possibly go through and trade one of those wide receivers that was impressive his own rookie season. Someone like, just say, a Brandon Ayuk over for Keenan Allen, and possibly you can do a pick swap in that as well. And that is something I think would make a ton of sense for those contending teams. Now, he is 29 years old, so it's not going to be the same exact scenario as Stefon Diggs, but you're going to be paying a lot less. Okay, so now let's go over to possibly my favorite buy in Dynasty for contending rosters, and this is going to be Robert Woods. Now, talk about a player just nonstop beating his ADP every single season. I mean, when is the last time Robert Woods was disappointing in fantasy? It's been a very long time, to be honest. And you throw in the fact here with Robert Woods that now he gets the best quarterback play that he has ever had in his entire NFL career, very similar to Keenan Allen. And also, you actually have targets leaving this offense. Now, I understand they bring in Tutu Atwell, but Tutu Atwell is a wide receiver that's 155 pounds that is going to be bringing his speed to take the top off the defense, not someone getting a lot of volume. But more importantly, you have Gerald Everett leaving, and you also have Josh Reynolds leaving this offense. So now you're going to be telling me that there are more targets available for Robert Woods, and those targets should be coming at a higher efficiency given the fact that Matthew Stafford is coming in to play the quarterback position there. I mean, Robert Woods is someone that I'm all in on, and I think he's going to cost a lot less in Dynasty. His contract is guaranteed through 2022, so you're looking at him most likely as a player that you're getting at the minimum 2 seasons from, and I think both of those years can be wide receiver 1 seasons from Robert Woods, given the fact that he is only 29 years old. And I mean, you could go through right now and trade Chase Claypool for Robert Woods plus another pick. Say you go, you know what, I want the immediate production. Also, I want to try to find some long-term value. So what if you haven't had your rookie draft yet? You go, hey, let's go trade Chase Claypool for Robert Woods and a late 2nd round pick. And then you go, okay, let's take that late 2nd round pick. Let's trade it into a 2022 2nd and 3rd. And then you go through and try to identify some more prospects in that draft and try to kind of reset with the dice. And maybe you come away with more long-term value and short-term production and a deal with that structure. So Robert Woods, someone that I am really liking to pursue. Now, our next player is going to be going back to the running back position, and this is going to be Chase Edmonds. Honestly, I am currently surprised by the Chase Edmonds ADP. I simply don't understand it. He is currently going at pick 61 in those redraft formats. So he is going at the very beginning of the 6th round, the very end of the 5th. And with Chase Edmonds, I mean, this has been a running back that has had a workhorse type role in any game that he's been vaulted up to being the starting running back. And I understand they bring in James Conner, and I am on board saying I'm worried that James Conner is going to take away some usage at the goal line. I think that is going to limit Chase Edmonds' overall ceiling in the games that you're expecting James Conner to play. But there are a couple things here. I mean, when's the last time James Conner played an entire season of football? And B, with Chase Edmonds, he is going to be the player that is in the game whenever they are in obvious passing down situations, the time of the game where you actually want your running back to be in there because you would expect him to be able to come away with targets, be able to come up with receptions, and James Conner simply is not going to be having that. Now, with Edmonds, if you're buying him in Dynasty, it is purely a one-year rental. Now, yes, I can sit here and I can say I love Edmonds at this price for 2021, but beyond that, he is a player that doesn't have too much team investment, and he is under the last year of his current contract. So unless he comes out and he looks like one of the best running backs in the entire NFL this year, I would be surprised if you see him get a significant contract going into next season because, I mean, that's what you see at the running back position. At the running back position, you see those guys that don't get the draft capital, and you see that haunt them throughout the course of their entire NFL career. I mean, just go over and look at James Robinson right now with how that affected him, and you really have to be an outlier if you're going to want to get that second contract. So it's pretty much a one-year rental with Chase Edmonds, but if you're a contender and you need a running back, maybe it's worth it. Now, our last player we are going to be talking about, we talked about yesterday on the main fantasy football channel, but this is going to be Myles Gaskin. And here, between Myles Gaskin and Chase Edmonds, if they're going to cost you the same in Dynasty, honestly, I'd prefer going and getting Myles Gaskin as you're looking at his redraft ADP, and he has a higher ADP than Chase Edmonds. He's also younger at 24 years old. Now, he doesn't have long-term outlook either, just because he was a 7th-round pick, and we know, just like we saw with James Robinson, I mean, those players that don't have the capital, those players that don't have the team investment, I mean, they continually get disrespected time and time again. So if you're buying into Myles Gaskin, understand, hey, this is most likely just a bet for 2021. And beyond that, we may not have anything here, but if you're a contending team and you need some points, I think Gaskin would be the guy I look for over Chase Edmonds. Now, thank you guys. I really hope y'all enjoyed this video. I really hope y'all got something from it. Of course, go down there, drop a like, leave a comment, subscribe to the channel. It helps us out a ton, and I will see y'all with the video tomorrow. Thank you so much for everyone supporting the show on Patreon. And Dominic, Jim, Carl, Jesse, Tyler, Eric, Colby, Cameron, Mike, and Marcus, thank you guys.